Hello and welcome to the Scale Your Mastery podcast. I'm excited because this was the first time that I actually scheduled in advance and came to the area here, the studio, and tapped go live. So I'm learning this for the first time. If you're just joining me, or if you've seen one of the other previous lives, just know that I am building in public. So you've probably seen that a lot on other social platforms. So I never thought that I would do it. Here I am, though, doing building in public. So pat on the back to myself for giving that a try. And I hope you will join me. So if you have not already started your YouTube channel, go ahead. Well, you started your channel, but maybe you haven't started going live. I want you to go ahead and consider that now might be a good time to do it because you won't be alone out here making bloopers. So, and plus, bloopers are a lot of fun. Once you progress and you look back and see your early videos, you'll have something to smile and laugh about. My name is Tracy D. Malone, and I am your host for Scale Your Mastery podcast. This is, I believe, episode number 4, and I will go live tomorrow and then also on Thursday. So if you can't join me, feel free to watch the replay. And just like the name implies, what we're going to do, well, first of all, let me introduce you to today's topic, okay? Because it's juicy. Will they remember you after the scroll? Now, you may be wondering, what am I talking about? And what does this have to do with mastery? This has everything to do with mastery. If you know you have already established mastery and you've already entered into your zone of genius, and people tell you all the time how great you are at this certain thing, then you have mastery, and it's your responsibility to put that out there in the world. That's what I'm talking about. Most importantly, though, I'm talking about how you show up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you're a business owner, is the number one platform for you to be on. It has the most business owners, and you will find your ideal clients there. So that's what I'm referring to. That's today's subject. Will they remember you after the scroll? All right. But let me first properly introduce you to this entire topic that I'm discussing of mastery. And I want to give you the definitions of mastery. According to Oxford, mastery is comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject or accomplishment. Merriam-Webster says mastery is possession or display of great skill or technique. Now I'm going to give you my definition. All right. My definition of mastery is the ability to execute a physical or mental activity at a high level while allowing your true personality to shine through. This makes all the difference in the world. And you know what? I dropped that definition on one of my posts a few days ago. And one of my connections, she is so awesome, named Marie. She's over in Ireland. Guess what she told me? She dropped in the comments, Tracy, your definition of mastery is iconic. Wow, that blew me away. You know why? Because that was an affirmation of my mastery. That was a form of affirmation of my mastery. And so I got excited because I sparked something in her through this conversation on that post. And then she in return reacted. And this is what happens when you uh, amplify, magnify, when you scale your mastery. This is what happens. People react to that. People will react when you scale and amplify your mastery. It is so important. Okay. So let me back up a little bit. And well, first of all, if you're watching on replay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am able to see a little bit of what's happening. I'm not sure if it's in real time, but if you're not watching live and you're watching on the replay, I really, really appreciate you. And maybe one day you can join me live, and maybe you can be someone who asks me questions, and I'll be able to respond to that. But if you do have a question, feel free to send me an email. If you're not able to type it into the chat, send me an email to Tracy D. Malone at gmail.com. So before we get too far along, I want to give you an idea of how I got here and why I'm discussing this. I'm very passionate about this because of my experience in life trying to figure out what my mastery was. Let me just take a sip here real quick. So, more than 25, first of all, I did not take a traditional route to becoming a business consultant. I know you hear a lot of gurus, they have this, um, I was poor and broke and struggling and didn't know what else to do. That's not my story. Okay, so more than 25 years prior to becoming a business consultant, I single handedly solved a $370 million problem for L'Oreal Soft Sheen. All right. More than 25 years before I said, I'm a business consultant, I solved a $370 million problem for L'Oreal Soft Sheen. What am I talking about? So back in the day, L'Oreal was making an offer to buy Soft Sheen. At the time, Soft Sheen had laptops that were ThinkPads out in the field for the sales team, and they were also at corporate for the CEOs and execs to be able to look at the sales, the orders, the customers, all of that information related to sales and marketing. And IBM had this proprietary database called Supercell, and it was installed on the laptops, the ThinkPads, and it was not synchronizing. So if the person in the field placed a big order with Walmart or Walgreens or what have you, the execs at corporate, they were not able to see what was happening in the field simultaneously. The data never showed up on the laptops back at corporate. So this was a huge problem because if you watch Shark Tank, you'll know that one of the things all the sharks do, they want to try to figure out as quickly as possible what's the valuation of the company. And a lot of times, if they don't hear what they need to hear from this person on the presentation, then they'll shut it down. They would just say, "I'm out." And one of the things I learned watching Shark Tank is that the database is one of the most important valuation tools that's used to determine what the value is of a company. So without that, there's no valuation. Without a valuation, there's no sale. Soft Sheen can't sell to L'Oreal. They did a they did a search, a talent search, and they found me. They came up with me. I went in and single handedly solved that problem. And guess what? Nothing really about the way that I was packaged at that moment, would have told you that I could solve a problem like that. I wasn't packaging myself that way because I didn't know that's what I was. Now, if you know you've mastered a certain area, accounting, bookkeeping, financial investing, if you know you've mastered that area, it's your responsibility to package yourself in a way that will attract ideal clients and opportunities to you. And this has everything to do with our subject today. Because I asked the question at the beginning, will they remember you after the scroll? When they scroll on LinkedIn, will they remember you? All right, so back to the story. So I didn't know at the moment that's what I had. No one told me, And I had a lot of experience already. By this time, I had spent more than 10 years in top tier corporations, working in those environments, soaking up everything like a sponge, being the executive assistant, secretary, whatever, to department heads at major companies that were the tops in their field. And I did not know. Nobody told me, Tracy, you're really great at XYZ. Or Tracy, you've got mastery. Nobody told me that. Through this long process of 20 plus, 30 something years, I had to figure it out on my own. So I am today a business consultant who can empower you to show up in your full mastery so that people can see you, stop the scroll, contact you, request to connect with you, and say they want to be your client. All right. So it wasn't until during the pandemic when I did some research that I figured out the magnitude of the problem I had solved. When I solved this problem, I didn't know. Nobody told me the valuation of the company. I didn't know anything. You could say I was naive. I didn't know. All I really wanted to do was do what I thought I was great at, do what I felt I was great at. That's all I wanted to do is an opportunity to do the thing that I love doing, which I didn't even know. It was solving business problems. I didn't know that was the thing, but that was the thing. And my title at the time when they hired me to solve this problem was database administrator. It wasn't business consultant. Now, if I had known my mastery and at the level of which I could go display that, then I would have called myself a business consultant and I would have got paid 10 times as much. This is why it's important to scale your mastery. This is why it's important to showcase your mastery at the best possible light, right? And I'm just gonna go off on a tangent real quick here. Some of you I see, I scroll on LinkedIn. I stop and read your bio because I'm interested in helping people like you. Not because of your banner, because your banner was blank or it had something in it, but it might as well have been blank because it didn't stop my scroll. My curiosity stops my scroll because I'm looking for people I know I can help. And this is what I'm saying to you. You've got to make a great first impression with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your virtual office. LinkedIn is your virtual billboard, and you've got to make a great first impression with LinkedIn. You can't assume that you're going to get another chance to see this person again. They just bypassed you looking for someone who provides your service, and they just totally bypassed you because you didn't show up in your full mastery. This is what I'm talking about. This is a new age that we're living in where people will swipe or they will scroll up and keep going because you didn't pique their interest in 3 seconds. That's about how much time they say you have. I did a post the other day about the attention span of adults in the US. And it said that a goldfish has a longer attention span than the adult in the US. Go check the post. I don't remember the name of the company that made the statement, but do your own research. Google, check me. It doesn't matter. I'm here speaking some truth. I'm doing my research before I get here. Fact check me if you want to. But the attention span of an adult is less than 9 seconds, but the attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. Now, that's just in general. When it comes to the attention span of somebody online on social media, I believe it's less than 3 seconds. I'm not that great with numbers, so I'm letting you know. I believe it was 2.7, but you can fact check me. Okay? Go Google and do your own research. You don't have to take my word for it. So back to the fact that I didn't know that that was my mastery. So here's what I can tell you today, though. My number one mastery is solving problems. Solving problems. Now, notice I didn't say solving business problems, but here's what I'm going to tell you. My mastery is solving problems, but, well, not but, and my mastery is solving problems. And what brings me joy is, or what I'm passionate about, is empowering business owners. That's it. Those two things together. Business owners who have a problem in their business and want to scale their mastery so they can scale their business. Because if you don't, you are leaving money on the table. And I want that to stop. This is 2025. I want you to stop leaving money on the table. If you have a LinkedIn profile that is not grabbing the attention of your ideal client and is not bringing you opportunities into your DMs, you are leaving money on the table. You're leaving opportunities on the table. And I'm a huge proponent of having a profile or a packaging for your mastery that allows you to track opportunities left and right because those things happen effortlessly. You didn't do anything to attract it. You set up your profile and your profile did the work for you. Your profile, you need to start thinking of your profile as your virtual salesperson. Your landing page is your virtual salesperson. Your website is your virtual salesperson. Your email is your virtual salesperson. Why? Because all of those things are working 24/7 while you're sleeping, on the beach, traveling, or what have you. All of those things. You could be making money doing a presentation, but if you have that stuff working for you, that's your salesperson and it's working 24/7. Okay. So that's the number one problem that I'm focused on solving. And again, I had all of that mastery and nobody told me how to package it. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know anything about business consulting at the time. And it wasn't until I kept going and trying to figure out where can my mastery take me next. And it was when I sat down at the onset of the pandemic, right before the state of Illinois shut down, the governor announced a shutdown, right about a week and a half, 10 days. Prior to that, that's when I said, okay, what's going on here in this world? What's happening? Because I knew something was happening, but I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew it was big and it was happening in the whole world at one time. Later to find out it was COVID-19. Okay. So what happened is I went ahead and I said, you know what? If this is happening now, this is a great time for me to segue into something else. Because at that time I was already over 50. So I knew that I mean, I don't know how much time I have left. Nobody does. But I felt and I knew I was aware that there was more than likely more time behind me than in front of me. Right? That's the thing. We don't know how much time we have. So why waste it? You don't know how much time you have. Why waste it trying to one, figure it out, or two, not even acknowledging that you have a major issue. Excuse me. So that's when I had that conversation with myself. Self actualization. Everyone who has mastered a craft can go through their own self actualization process. So I sat down and I said, I've already done real estate for over 20 plus years. What do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? So I had to examine what happened over the last 30 years of my life since I got into the work world. What happened? And then that's when I saw it was like my mind went back over everything. And it was as if someone had showed me a movie trailer of what happened in my life. And that's when I realized, far back as my first corporate job, I was solving business problems. That's how far back it went. It went all the way to my first job. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware that this was the trajectory. It wasn't until I looked back and examined through self-actualization to say, what really happened here? How did I spend my time? And what did I enjoy doing? And where did I get great results for people? That's when I realized. Okay, so if that's something that you would like to do, let me know because I'm going to put together some type of PDF or something, or maybe I'll do a master class on that where you can go through a self actualization process. Or maybe you want me to guide you in a one on one journey in an hour session. Reach out to me because those are things that I'm putting into place, and I'd be happy to guide you through that. That's one of the things that I do is work with people one on one. Let me say this also. If you're listening to this, watching this, and you're finding it to be of value to you, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. All right. Give this episode a thumbs up. And then I want you to share with someone else who could benefit from what's being shared here today. One of my goals is to reach 50 subscribers. And you know what that will allow me to do is to show up more often for you and provide you with even more value, right? What I find is that there are times when I would love to go live, but I can't because I can't from my cell phone, put it that way. I want to be able to go live from anywhere, but YouTube will not give me that permission until I have 50 subscribers. That's why it's important. So I want to get this word out. I want to share it with more people because I believe it's a timely message. We're living in a day and time where if you're not great at what you do, you're going to have a hard time surviving in this economy. You have to put your mastery out there. Because guess what? We're living in a time where there are more people with MBA and masters and college degrees than ever before in the history of man. There are more people now that have 4+ year degrees from colleges. An overabundance of people. And having that degree does not guarantee that you're going to end up doing something you love doing and get paid for it. Consider that. And then we know that it takes a long time nowadays for someone to find a job on average. Of course, there are some people who just, float through that process of job searching. Maybe they get inbound offers all the time. And if they set up their LinkedIn profile in a way that monetizes their mastery, I'm sure they get offers. But if you don't have your profile set up that way, or you're not out there being able to amplify your mastery and package it up, then you may have a harder time if you went into this job search market. But it's very common for people to apply for 400 plus jobs before they get the one job. And then when they get the one job, that one job is actually paying them less than their previous job. Plus, they have more work responsibilities. That part, that part. So it's almost time for me to sign off today. So I've got about 5 more minutes left. These sessions starting out will be about 30 to 40 minutes. I do have a 10 o'clock coming up today and then also Thursday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, I may go a little bit longer, but Thursday, it will be about 30 minutes or so because I do have a 10 o'clock to get ready for. Okay. So I just want to let you know that I'm here for you if you're in the process of scaling your business. I want you to consider scaling your mastery before you scale your business. Scale your mastery before you scale your business because if you don't, you're going to leave money on the table. It's kind of like this. How can you look at that in a different way so that it really sticks with you? Here's a story. So prior to becoming a business consultant, I said I had spent about 20+ years doing real estate. And when I went into that industry, didn't know anything about it, had just recently bought a home, but that was it. I grew up in a home, but that was it. Nobody was selling houses in my bloodline. Everybody who bought a house in my bloodline kept the house and allowed the next generation to inherit it. So there wasn't a lot of home sales. The home that I grew up in, my family had been there since I was about two. And we still have the home in our family, right? So, but this process of buying and selling, I was totally unfamiliar with that. But I had gone through that process. And I said to myself, you know what? That process was yucky. I didn't like it. Matter of fact, I had to fire my couple of real estate agents that I was working with because they were not representing my best interests. That was something I discerned. And so I knew I had to fire them. And when I fired them, I hired myself. That's right. I hired myself. And that was my entry into real estate. Little did I know that less than a year after buying my home, that I would be inspired to start a career in real estate. And I started my career in real estate at Caldwell Banker. As you know, Coldwell Banker is one of the top real estate brokerages in the world, not just the US, but in the world. So I went straight. I believe in going to work at the very best so I can learn from the very best. So I went there, and guess what? In my first year, I got Rookie of the Year award. hmm Yep, I got Rookie of the Year award. So I left something that I solved a really big problem in and didn't know what I would do next. But I always take a moment to do this self actualization. What is this moment allowing me to do? I've got a break now between what I just did and this next empty open space. And what's before me is an opportunity for me to do something else great. So I always check in with myself. What can I do now? What skills have I just added? What did I really like about that? How can I use that going forward? And what am I enthusiastic about right now? What piques my interest and curiosity right now? Right? So when I answered that question, it was a no brainer. It was real estate. I was already binging on HGTV. Back in the day, that channel had just launched. So they didn't have a whole lot of episodes. I promise you, within a 24-hour cycle, I saw every episode of every show. And I can repeat the words verbatim. So if there were people in the scene, I knew what that person was going to say next. I knew what that person was going to say. I knew what they were going to do. And and one of the things was there was a show called House Hunters. And so they would take a realtor, would take a buyer on this buying journey, make appointments to show them houses. They would look at the house together. The realtor would give them the tour. The husband and wife would make a decision on what house they wanted to buy. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, I knew exactly the house they were going to buy. I had just been through that process and I had already started to develop mastery in that process, right? So when I was seeing it on TV, it was so real to me. It was like a no-brainer. It's like, of course they're going to buy that house. Not that one, but that one. And so it again, I was present in the moment and I understood what piqued my interest and what I was curious about. And I took that next step. Mastery is always going to open up opportunities for you to develop more mastery further ahead than where you are today. But you've got to be willing to take that journey. If you don't take the next step in your mastery, you begin to be stifled. And then you also start to take for granted the gifts and abilities that you have. You start to look at them as commonplace, like, oh, yeah, I do this and I'm good at it. But yeah, everybody does that. No, everybody doesn't do that. And everybody doesn't do that the way you do that. It's important. Remember the definition I talked about earlier? Bringing your entire self to the activity or to the mental process. Doing something at a high level and you're bringing your entire self. You're not leaving a part of you at home. You're bringing your full personality right? You bring your mindset, you bring your energy, you bring all your power to create, you bring all of that together into this process of executing your mastery. That's the big difference. That's the big difference. So, I just want to briefly talk about um, this idea about scaling mastery. There's someone I follow on LinkedIn, and she is a coach for founders. And I don't want to pronounce the name because I will get it wrong. I will get it wrong. But she did a post yesterday, and in the post, she was talking about some of the mistakes that founders make when they scale their business. And one of the things she mentioned was efficiency. They totally blank out on efficiency. They're scaling their business. They want to make more profits. They want more customers. But one of the things they overlook is efficiency. Now, efficiency happens to be another one of my core masteries, if that's a word, masteries. Efficiency. That was one of the things that my clients would comment about in real estate when I was a realtor, managing broker. They would comment, "Oh, Tracy, you're so efficient," right? Now, I want to give you a new way of looking at efficiency, and then we're going to call this session a wrap. And this is important because when you scale your mastery, you got to be efficient at what you do. That's the difference between a professional who has mastered the craft and one who has not. That's the difference. That's where the money is made in efficiency. Da, 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 da. You know, ta 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 ta. In that efficiency of execution, right? So efficiency is about knowing the next 100 steps in what you do, meaning that efficiency is going to display itself because you know the next thing to do and you dot 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 you rattle it off, right? You say it so fast that somebody feels like you're speaking another language, right? It happens so fast when you execute that somebody has to, their head spins. They have to turn back around. What did she just say? Or what did he say? Because you were so efficient in your execution, they know that they're talking to a professional because you were speaking slow or average, but the way they heard you execute it, it happened so fast they couldn't catch it. Let me give an example of this, and then we'll sign off for today. I love to use the example of when you go to the doctor's office or dentist, right? They are very efficient in what they do. That office staff, you know what? It's not that they're reading your mind. It's that they're efficient at what they do. That's what happens at a mastery level. Efficiency is so visible. It's palatable. You can feel it. You can sense it. You can experience that efficiency. That doctor's office, when you step out of that doctor's office, like you just had your, one-to-one with the doctor, and you come out of that room, before you can get to the counter, that what do you call it? Let's see. What do you call the person behind the desk? Let's say receptionist. There's maybe a better word, but receptionist, I'll go with that. That receptionist is going, Mr. Smith, okay, we need to set your next appointment. How about this date and this date? Which one is best for you? That person already had the calendar open. They already had some options for you. They already took a look at the business a month out from now or 6 months out from now, and they knew what was going on, and they know why you need to come back. They didn't ask you, well, what's this appointment for? No, they already knew because they're like 10 steps ahead of you. Okay. So when you go to the dentist and you get ready to leave the dentist office, oh, Mr. Jones, we're going to need to see you again in 6 months for your regular checkup. What date works best for you? This date, or this date? And then there you go. You're out of the office. So when I was practicing real estate, something similar was happening to me. So what would happen is I would be prepared for the next 10 steps. I had my contracts with me. I had my pen with me. I was taking notes as we were touring. I was making mental notes and writing down notes as we were touring. I knew what the next questions were going to be. I knew if they asked this question, then they were going to ask the next question as well. So they would say to me, oh, Tracy, you're so efficient. I was just wondering. Wow, it's amazing. Like, it's like you're reading my mind. I was going to ask you that. And it didn't matter what it was, whether it was about how do we make an offer on this house? What's the next step? How much does it cost? How much is our payment going to be? Can we get approved for that amount? How many days do we have? It doesn't matter what the question was. I always knew I was at least 10 to 20 steps ahead of them. And that's what happens when you when you master your subject area, you become efficient in it. So I want to ask you the same question I asked at the top of the broadcast. Okay. Will they remember you after the scroll? If you cannot definitively answer that with a yes, absolutely, 100%, guess what? We need to fix your packaging. We need to fix your packaging and we need to do it now. We need to do it now. How long have you already spent with your packaging the way it is right now? How long has it been? Has it been a couple of months? Has it been a couple of years? How long has it been that you've had your LinkedIn page profile looking the way it looks right now? Do you know that every day that you realize there's another level of mastery in you? Do you realize that your page on LinkedIn should reflect that? Every time you level up, if you realize something about your mastery or about the clients you serve, your page needs to level up too. And if your page is not leveling up, you're leaving money on the table. Okay, this is my last story, and then I'll sign off. So in real estate, when someone is selling, what what they'll usually do is go through the home and they'll take all the valuable stuff. They'll make sure all the valuable stuff is gone. Right. Now, if they happen to leave something, it may be valuable to you, but it wasn't valuable to them. Usually that's what they do. They go through the house and they get all the valuable stuff. They take everything they want. Have you ever seen a home that's up for sale with a yard sign in it, posted on Zillow, posted on realtor.com? Have you ever seen a house for sale and then you walk in and you tour the house, and in one of the bedroom closets, there's a safe stuffed with cash? Have you ever seen that? In all the years I practiced real estate, I never saw that. Not one single time. You know why? Because what was valuable to that owner, they took with them. But some of you business owners out there, some of you entrepreneurs, some of you CPAs, accountants, and bookkeepers. What you're doing is you're leaving the safe in the house. You're leaving money on the table. You're leaving money on the table. That's what's happening. You're leaving money on the table in your business every single day that goes by, and you have a LinkedIn profile that does not stop the scroll. You're leaving money on the table. How much longer will you continue to do that? How much longer will you continue to do that? It's 2025. We don't know what the future holds. We have a new president in office, just got sworn in yesterday, took the oath of the office yesterday, and we don't know what's going to happen. Of course, we're all hoping and praying for the best. All hoping and praying for the best. But do we know what's going to happen? No. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. And if you're leaving money on the table, guess what? Now you know something and you cannot unknow it. Now I've made you aware. You cannot unknow this. You can pretend, but you can never unknow. You cannot take that out of your brain now that you know. And in closing, I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes. Man's mind, once stretched, can never return to its original dimension. Maybe I said that a little wrong. One's mind, once stretched, will never return to its original dimension. That means that those neural pathways that are connecting up in your brain to create new pathways of information every time something new drops into your ear gate or your spirit gate, that means you can never take that out. It's already built into your brain. One's mind, once stretched by a new idea, never regains its original dimension. I'm your change agent. So I'm going to sign off here. It's been a wonderful time with you today. I hope you got value out of this session. And if you did, I want you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and then share this with someone else. My goal is to get to 50 subscribers as quickly as possible so I can go live from anywhere. That means I can go live on my cell phone instead of sitting in front of a laptop or a desktop. And that's where I know I can bring you more value and more insights. So tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me right here again as we unpack another session, a live broadcast for Scale Your Mastery podcast. I'm Tracy Malone, and see you next time.